They released 3 episodes at once, which, hey, I'm a big fan of. I'm super.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, you watched the first episode. I was like, what'd you think of the show? You were like, the first episode? And
There's something in episode 4 where I was like, this is the worst part. I've closed my eyes through this whole scene. It was so bad.
There's no real lasting effects for me in this show, which is painful, but also I've narrowed in on another big complaint I have with the show in watching these 3 episodes, which is too many characters and too many plot lines.
I don't think it bothers me the same way that it bothers you, which I feel like normally it would, but for whatever reason, the way that this show is, I'm still invested either way. Welcome to Backseat Directing,
Where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
we're your hosts,
Andrew.
and Aaron.
We post new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And today we're talking about the first 3 episodes of The Boys.
Season 4. 3, 2, 1.
Action.
Bum, 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 bum.
The boys are back.
The boys are back.
Back in town. Here we go.
High School Musical 3. Let's go.
Good movie.
I'm excited to talk about The Boys Season 4 because they released 3 episodes at once, which, hey, I'm a big fan of. I'm super.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, you watched the first episode. I was like, what'd you think of the show? You were like, the first episode?
Yeah, I literally watched 1 and turned it off and then went to work and didn't know that there was 2 more until you were like, I'm on the second one.
You're like, how?
What?
Are you in the future? So they released 3 episodes at once. As of recording this, there's 4 episodes out because we're recording it on Thursday. So many of you probably will have seen that episode by the time this is released, but I'm a big fan of releasing multiple episodes at once. I think from the very beginning, they started releasing at least 2 at once, and Invincible's done the same thing. So Prime Video shows tend to release the first 2, which is something. So I'm glad we got 3 this time, get long headway into the show so that you can have that kind of mixture of people talking about the show and building up a good couple episodes and still get that elongated conversation by releasing them weekly without having to do some stupid mid-season break on an 8-episode show.
Kind of like it's the middle ground, best of both worlds.
I think
makes us happy that we can kind of get into the season. Because a lot of times the first episode's just kind of getting the new story rolling. So 3 episodes, we're in the season, we're in the middle of it, but like you said, they can kind of span it across 2 pay cycles.
Because when I started watching it, I watched 2.5 episodes straight through. I didn't finish quite all 3, but it's I could really sit there and build up some steam on the show and build my interest. So it's a lot easier for people, I think, to forget about a show. You watch 1 episode. Even Disney's doing it now. The Acolyte released the first 2 episodes. So I think that people are catching on that you need people a little bit more invested before you start stringing them along week to week. It just used to work better for people. Cable, you'd put out
that was the only way,
and it was the only way people knew. Now people are such
also, bingers. A lot of cable shows, not all of them, but most of them seem to be very episodic. To where they didn't all connect as much as these shows are now. These are just longer movies in a way.
Yeah, even season finales kind of nowadays, the next episode, the season premiere after the finale will kind of lead off directly from where the season finale was. So it's all very much feeling more continuous, I think.
Yeah.
But overall, I want to talk about the show. Before I ask you my first question, I do want to thank anyone who clicked on this video. We appreciate you for watching. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell because you don't want to miss any of our awesome content. Like we said earlier, we post 2 episodes every week on Monday and Thursday, sometimes more, like last week. So make sure that you're subscribed, notified, and check us out on all of our other social media platforms so you can see our short form content on there.
Oh.
But Aaron, what did you think of the first 3 episodes of The Boys Season 4?
Overall, I thought they were on par with the first 3 seasons that we've gotten. I was attached to the screen the whole time. I enjoyed the story. I liked the characters. The shock factor is still there and still shocking, even after, it's kind of I'm used to it now. They can't do anything to surprise. Whoa, what was that? They get you. There's something too, because I have seen episode 4. And there's something in episode 4 where I was like, this is the worst part. I've closed my eyes through this whole scene. It was so bad.
Jeez.
Yeah, I was like, I
Really
just
hyping it
can't.
up.
I just can't.
Making me nervous.
And I haven't done that. Most of everything else, you're like, ooh, but you're still watching. But that thing in episode 4, I was like, oh, that hurts.
I liked
What'd
it
you
a
think?
lot. I liked it. I liked it as well. I have my main complaint that I've had with the boys time and time again. If you've watched the show for a while, you've heard my complaints, and some people totally disagree with me. So I'm ready to field that in the comments. But my main complaint with the boys is that season after season, the status quo doesn't change. Nothing happens, and no real serious characters dies. I mean, we've had Translucent die. We've had Ryan's mom die, Becca. But
Acting like she doesn't matter.
we had
Those serious characters.
well, she's a serious character, but she wasn't even in the first season, and then she died in the second season, so she didn't even have that much time on screen. We had Black Noir die, but immediately is replaced by another character. So there's no real lasting effects for me in this show, which is painful. But also, I've narrowed in on another big complaint I have with the show in watching these 3 episodes, which is too many characters and too many plot lines. So I made a quick list of some plot lines here in the show that are all like kind of active plot lines or dormant sleeping plot lines that they never closed. So I'm going to rattle them off. Okay.
Here we go.
So Victoria Newman is vice president in office with Bobby Singer. Stan Edgar, who left the show, who was the CEO of Vought. Red River. Soup's in the military. They never closed that. Gen V, the entire show. Homelander and Ryan. Temp V. Kimiko and being a kidnapping victim. Frenchie in rehab, which I entirely forgot about. Huey's mom coming back. Huey's dad having a stroke. Maeve is a human now and just walked off the face of the show as well. Soldier Boy is on ice. He's frozen, so he's another dormant plot line. A-Train becoming good. The Deep and the Octopus. Now the Deep and Sister Sage. Butcher and Joe Kessler, Starlight leading the Starlighters, and that's just like some of the plot lines that they have going on. There's so many balls in the air, so many characters, and whenever a character leaves, they fill in like 2 characters to take their place, because now we've got Firecracker and Sister Sage, 2 completely new characters this season. It just feels like so hard for me to even keep track of stuff. Like when Kimiko was like, what's happening, Frenchie? Rehab was going so well. In my head, I'm thinking, I didn't even remember that he was in rehab. There's so many plot lines. I feel like I have a decent memory, but I just can't keep track of all the balls the boys has in the air. And they just close out things that are really interesting without going back. Stan Edgar and his power over Homelander. I've never seen a whiff of him since he left last season. They haven't mentioned Soldier Boy at all this season. They briefly mentioned him and the incident that happened, but he hasn't been shown or anything of Jensen Ackles coming back. I mean, the Soups in the military was a huge debate that they were having, and I think Homelander was trying to get them into the military, or Stan Edgar was. It's hard to even remember what was happening. Like, I kind of forget that Huey even worked for Victoria Newman at one point. Like, he was in her campaign office, and I forget that even happened. But they have this close relationship they mentioned in episode 1 of season 4, where he was friends with her daughter and almost like a family member to her. They were very, very close friends, and I feel like that was kind of glossed over. I mean, they show him working with her and for her, but this relationship goes so much deeper than I feel like I knew. I don't know. Are any of these particularly interesting to you? Did you want them to come back, or does it bother you the same way it bothers me?
I don't think it bothers me the same way that it bothers you, which I feel like normally it would, but for whatever reason, the way that this show is, I'm still invested either way. There definitely is a lot of things up in the air. And I don't know, maybe I'm taking more of the approach of just kind of sitting there watching, seeing what comes, rather than like, hey, trying to investigate and figure out like where things are going and stuff. But yeah, that's a lot. I feel like when you list it out like that, it definitely seems like a lot.
I feel as though if you're just watching it, waiting to see what comes, the stuff never comes though in the show. Like you're waiting to see what happens with Homelander takes over as the leader of Vought and pushes Stan Edgar out, and then he's having a hard time balancing everything, and all of a sudden that seems to just go up in smoke.
Yeah.
Because now, I mean, he does in this season bring Sister Sage in to help, but it seemed more so like he was just bothered by everyone around him being yes men, and not like he was struggling to actually find answers. He just
I go into the show thinking those things that you're saying, and then I'm watching the show and I'm like, I'm still having a good time. I don't know what it is.
I agree with you. When you said that, how is it you put it, that you just are enjoying it despite all of that?
Yeah.
When episode 3 ended, I was just thinking, I can't wait for episode 4. I mean, I still get sucked into it and wrapped up in it, and it's still a good, enjoyable show. I think to be a great show, though, they need to develop more, more concrete consequences. Things need to happen. When they set a line in the season saying, I don't want Soups to end up, getting us all in camps. If that's what was happening this season, if Homelander realized he could do whatever he wants, and now he's rounding regular humans up and putting them in camps and having Supes take over the world, but the boys are on the run and they're the rebellion trying to find a way to stop them, that's a huge change to the world. Or when Homelander just mowed down that crowd with laser vision, oh my good, like my mind was blown. And then 2 seconds later, it's like that was a fantasy of his. So nothing happened in reality. It's just him being upset in his own mind. I want more, like I want drastic consequences. I want drastic change. I want characters to die that are important to the show. Soldier Boy didn't die. Maeve didn't die. She just lost her powers. I mean, these main characters are not dying. A-Train's still around. The Deep's still around. The only character they killed was a character who never even spoke words, and then they instantly replaced him with another character.
It's not even that like someone needs to die, but something needs to
Lasting
change.
consequences.
Yeah, something needs to change. Like I thought more was going to happen with Homelander killing that guy in front of everyone. Like they kind of brushed it off, like, oh, you have legal battles going on right now, and then they just kind of pushed it over to the side and didn't. I thought that was going to be like season 4 is addressing that, and Homelander's like taking his power to the next level, kind of like what you said. But really, it all just kind of feels the same with how it was in season 2 and 3
and 1. I get the satire they're going for, right? Like they satirize Donald Trump with Homelander, and there's a famous line where it's saying, I could kill a guy in the middle of town square and get away with it. That's exactly what Homelander did. He went to trial. He got away with it. So that's the satire. But sometimes the satire aspect of their show is superseding the story aspect. To politically show this, making fun of real life. But in real life, the status quo doesn't change. I get that. But in a show, I want to be different than real life. I would just go live real life if I wanted.
You can't go live real life like they do in The Boys.
I want to escape. I want story to develop. Yeah, in real life, everything stays the same. We don't, overthrow, and the government doesn't necessarily declare martial law and all this stuff. But in a show
here in our life,
so far in where we live specifically, far, because they're satirizing
in our life experience.
Could happen tomorrow,
right?
Hopefully not.
It's happened in other places.
Yeah, unfortunately. So Homelander, yes, is very interesting, and I'll come back to the show again and again because the characters are interesting, the situations are interesting. For example, when Huey is at the end of episode 3, when Huey is in the air duct, that's one of the most intense, thrilling scenarios in the first 3 episodes for me, because it felt to me like in Spider-Man 1, when he's stuck on the roof and the Green Goblin comes in the room and he's looking around and there's that drop of blood that's just almost dropping and drips to the floor. He looks back and he's gone. The high intensity was there, and I was worried that he was going to get caught. But then I feel like I immediately have that feeling reversed when Homelander
didn't really do anything.
Didn't do anything.
Homelander was like, "Where is he?
Yeah,
where is he?
You can see through walls.
You can fly. Vision. You can fly. Go out there.
Yeah, and you're super fast. And what was he defeated by? A row of lights in the ceiling.
Hey, they were bright, man. Did you try imagining using X-ray vision and just getting blinded, dude?
If you're using, I get that it's kind of like supersonic noise being played when he's trying to listen. It's like, overwhelming.
Yeah.
Sure, but it's at the bare bones level. He's defeated by lights.
At the least, he could have flown himself into the event, and chased him down real quick.
The first moment he used the laser vision, I don't know how he missed, because the first moment he looks up, he lasers into the vent and misses. But
Huey was gone. Yeah.
But how fast was Huey? I mean, wouldn't he have heard him starting to scurry and just instantly whipped around and lasered him? I get it's for plot convenience, but think about season 1. Think about season 1 when they took Translucent. What did Homelander do? He starts super speed, like probably the speed of sound or faster, vroom, vroom, flying around, using his supervision to scan every inch of the city to find Translucent.
I think part of it is like he has to intentionally be thinking about,
but as soon as that drop of sweat landed, he's so fast.
Yeah.
I know it's a nitpick, and they have to let Huey survive.
They took a second to smell to see who it was, see if it wasn't just like condensation from the AC unit.
But after that, he should have had him. I mean, there's a full minute sequence of him getting away, crawling away,
It still shocks me every time though when they kill innocent people on the skating rink.
That was, that was funny.
And it's like,
And they're all
I should
running and
know that
panicking.
it's coming.
And the
but
one,
it still
the one
gets
person
me.
that skated
So-
over the fingers and sliced
Yeah,
all the fingers
dude.
off. I mean, it's cool, it's crazy, and the show's loads of fun. But I just don't feel the intensity and the stakes anymore. For example, in season 1, when Butcher turns around in the crowd at A-Train's race and just, I've said this so many times, but stares down Homelander, that moment has so much intensity to me. Or when they're trying to figure out how to kill Translucent, like just the thought process, the fun of that.
There's more tension. The stakes feel real in season 1 for sure.
And it feels
And
like
over the seasons, the stakes have felt less and less. But even still, whenever Homelander's on the screen, there's like this bit of anxiety in me, of like,
well, you never know what he
gonna
might do.
happen,
But you know one thing he won't do? Kill any main characters that are important to the plot. He'll stand right next to Billy Butcher and just chat with him. You know, this man he's a weak human, right? You call him playthings, but he would do anything to have you dead, and you're not just killing him.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan would never know if Homelander really wanted him dead. He would fly him out to the middle of the ocean and drop him in the middle of the ocean. Ryan would never know.
Yeah.
be like,
I mean, you can
well,
assume, but
yeah.
like, no body's found, right?
I mean, Butcher would just go no contact with him. It wouldn't be the strangest thing in the world.
better than the ocean, just bring him to space.
Yeah, throw him into the sun.
Like, what are you going to do?
He could throw everyone.
NASA's going to report on you? Come on now.
He could throw every one of the boys' cast members into the sun and just be done. And Homelander would be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, the show would have to switch to being about Victoria Newman. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like in season 1, there was a little bit more of like reason why things weren't going that direction, But now it's like looser and looser of like, come on, Homelander, what are you doing? And in episode 4, they kind of talk more about Homelander's weakness being that he has to have love and approval, and that's kind of what his kryptonite is and what kind of holds him back.
But he found out that they'll love him no matter what.
Yeah.
And that didn't change. Like you said, it didn't change the show.
That's why it's getting a little bit looser and looser as it goes on. But I still love the show.
Yeah.
I hear all of your complaints, and I do care about them. But then when I'm watching the show, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm having a good time.
I think that one of the biggest strengths in season 3 was the introduction of Temp V and getting to see our heroes actually have a fighting chance. Plus, there's the benefit of getting to see Soups fight Soups, seeing souped up Billy Butcher and souped up Huey fight Soups or Soldier Boy fighting Homelander. We get to see actual power on power fight rather than seeing them basically be helpless. I can't tell you how frustrating it was for them to open season 4, episode 1 with Huey splashing acid on Victoria Newman and only her clothes being damaged. I mean, we come to find out that Frenchie's probably spent months working on a concoction to hopefully use acid to hurt a Soup, and that months of effort was wasted because Soups are so invulnerable. We've seen Billy Butcher, I'm pretty sure at point blank range, shoot Starlight with like a Beretta 50 cal sniper rifle, and it just knocked her to the ground.
Well, I mean, he just did the same thing with Newman, too.
Yeah, he shot her point blank pistol to the head. But even a 50 caliber sniper rifle couldn't pierce Starlight's skin. So how am I supposed to root for these characters who I feel like have no chance in hell? All they can do is get blackmail on them and hope that's enough to emotionally control them. They cannot do damage to these people to save their lives.
Blackmail doesn't even work either. You'll see in episode 4.
Yeah. Well, blackmail didn't work before because they were blackmailing Homelander in season 3, and he said something like, yeah, I'll just dive bomb into the Pentagon and destroy it and then watch everyone. If he said, if I can't have their love, I'll have their fear.
And Andrew's over here on the couch. Do it.
Come on. Destroy the world.
Do something about it.
Not up or shut up, Homelander. I just want to see some carnage. The carnage is always like 6. Is that what basically what Soldier Boy tells him?
Yeah.
He's like, you're such a pussy. By the way, we're talking about, this is The Boys. So this is going to be more of we're discussing R-rated topics. Right. Yeah, so I'm sure you knew this, but
Andrew's going to be naked by the end of this episode.
rip my Butcher shirt off. But I think that Butcher is one of the most interesting characters of the show, but he's been really overshadowed by Homelander since season 1. In season 1, Butcher was easily my favorite character, and that's kind of diluted in season 2. But then season 3, he's back and he's scorched earth. I'm gonna burn the world and use Temp V and destroy my brain just to have a chance at murdering Homelander. He's like, I don't even care about Ryan. The fact that I blame Becca's death on you still, I will destroy everyone I know, everyone I love, burn every bridge in relationship to get a cut on Homelander's face. That's the Butcher that I want in the game. I like seeing the softer side of him in season 4. I think if he has a softer side for anyone, it should be Ryan and Huey, the people who look up to him and believe there's a twinge of humanity left in him. I think that's where it should go. I'm glad he threw those cookies out and didn't poison Ryan. That's what I wanted to see. But for everyone else, I want him to just burn the world to kill Homelander. And I don't see that fire in him anymore. I mean,
He's dying.
Start taking 10V again. I don't care if you have 6 months to live. I want to see Butcher getting punched in the face by Homelander and turning back and smiling, like in the Hero Gasm episode.
Well, there's hints in episode 4.
Here's what I want, and this is it's a guess / hope for the rest of the season. I want him to take a permanent version of V and get souped up, and that will heal his brain. If he has soup ability, it will heal his brain and make it stronger.
Should I tell him?
Does that already happen in episode 4? Is that something he's considering?
Maybe.
I think someone else should do it to him. It would make more sense because he doesn't want to be a soup. He just wants the ability to fight soups, and he hates soup. So if someone else did it to him as a plot to get him, like if Joe Kessler was like, boom, permanent V, I need you to take out Homelander.
Your only hope. That's pretty cool. That would be.
That'd be pretty awesome. It's so frustrating to me that the acid didn't do anything to Victoria Newman. I mean, it just shows me how they can't do anything. Huey hiding in the vent, hoping Homelander doesn't spot him. They can't do jack to these people. I liked in season 1 they had a balance where it was like, oh, we can capture Translucent, and he's so strong we can't kill him, but we have to use our wit, our ingenuity, to be clever and find a way to kill him, and they did, and it was like perfect for the show because it was gruesome, it was over the top, it was involved a butthole, so it was crazy, and it just was perfectly fitting for the show. That sequence of first 2 episodes is peak The Boys, in my opinion, and then they just haven't shown me anything as good since season 1, except for season 3 when they start actually having them fight.
Yeah.
Which the Hero Gasm episode is top tier episode of The Boys.
For multiple reasons, huh? No, yeah, season 3 is awesome. I just rewatched it, kind of getting ready for season 4.
Which probably makes it easier for you to follow the plot lines than it does for me.
Probably, yeah, it probably helps. But even in season 3, how you were talking about how you liked how Butcher is, on V and he's fighting Homelander and actually doing something that can actually make a dent, make a difference, and possibly even kill Homelander. There were stakes. Even with all of that, we got the soft side of him in the background of like him and his dad, his brother, and how he kind of views Ryan kind of taking the place of his brother in a way, So season 3 was really good emotionally, but then also with the cool action stuff, and the stakes felt real again. So far in season 4, the stakes don't feel as real, just like you said, little bits and pieces of story here and there.
I would say I like most of the show. I mean, season 1, season 3, and Gen V season 1 really are all really fantastic.
Yeah. Gen V was great, but the stakes were all real.
Yeah, and Homelander, I think Homelander's a big weakness of The Boys. Coming up on 4 seasons, I think he is. He's one of the biggest strengths, but also weaknesses of the show. Because Gen V didn't really have Homelander until the last second, and I think it made the show so much stronger because there wasn't this godlike character that could destroy everyone. Yeah, everyone was on more level footing. And I'd love to see Sam from Gen V come into The Boys. I know he's going to be in it. I've seen him in the trailer, but I'd love to see him come into it and even the scales because I feel like he is really strong and invulnerable, similar to Homelander, because we haven't seen anyone really damage him. Mm-hmm. He's been kind of KO'd, but he's so strong and also invulnerable.
I feel like the only way Homelander wouldn't be as big of like a thing that's holding them down is if he actually became like the tyrant that he wants to be, And like you said, like the world starts changing and he starts taking over. Then it's like, oh shoot, like he's actually threatening the world here.
Well, what show do you know that has the same villain for 4 seasons and the villain is basically in the same spot as they were in season 1? He's basically leading Vought in season 1 as a figurehead. Now he's the actual CEO.
The Joker?
In what show?
I mean, across all of Batman, right? Like he never dies because Batman never wants to kill him, which is a plot convenience.
But it's a comic book complaint. If you look at anything live action, I mean, the Joker dies, goes to prison. He doesn't come back in The Dark Knight Rises. They planned a cameo. He doesn't come back, obviously, because of real world events.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
But I mean, he's defeated. He's fully defeated. He goes to jail. Homelander's never been temporarily defeated. He's never been locked up or the Boys KO'd him and took away his powers and his powers came back. killed him and he was resurrected. Nothing like
That's
that.
why I was hoping something more would happen with him, killing that person in broad daylight.
Some consequences.
Yeah.
I mean,
something.
it would have been great to see Homelander lose that trial and get imprisoned, and then he's trying to kind of work off the sentence for a little bit to stay good in the public eye, and then eventually something happens where he just loses his cool and goes for, like how Hancock, have you seen Hancock with Will Smith? He could just fly out of the prison and break out of it at any point. Superman 2 in Man of Steel, when he just walks, breaks his cuffs, to see Homelander have that moment, and then he goes full tyrant. Because now there's no holds barred. The society's against him. He just broke the judicial system, so he just flies out of prison, and now everything's off the rails. That would have been an arc for Homelander.
It would have also been cool. I think we talked about this on a previous episode when we were reviewing The Boys, or maybe even it was Gen V, where we were saying, like, in this season, it would have been cool, like, if Homelander lost his power somehow, and he's locked up, and now the boys...
Soldier Boy was the perfect...
Yeah.
The Soldier Boy took away people's powers.
Right, and the boys then have to face a different thing, and maybe Homelander only shows up in, like, 3 of the episodes, and most of them he's just, like, locked up, and he's not as big of a plot point. It's kind of like the Joker's in jail. Yeah. But then later, maybe the main villain that they've been chasing frees him and gives him back V, and now he's back to being Homelander. And now season 5, now he's really not going to let anything slide. He's taking over. Season 5 ends with a bang. Boom, show over. Done.
That's what I mean. I would have loved to see them do that, is depower Homelander and get a few scenes with Homelander in a prison cell weekend at his absolute lowest point, have him in a jumpsuit, have Anthony Starr looking all frail. He doesn't have his padded muscles anymore.
Which I never considered that until this season, that his suit isn't just fake to us in real life, but it's also fake in The Boys. Yeah, and that it's not when they take the suit off, they're just trying to pretend like, he doesn't look as muscular, maybe no one will notice, but it's actually like psychological goes more into his personality in the show.
It's not just fake for Anthony Starr, it's fake for John.
Yeah, for Homelander.
And so I think that when they put the suit on him, it's another part of that satire of, building up our heroes and airbrushing them and big abs on the cover of a magazine. Yeah. They're the audience members in the show, the real people on the ground level of the Boys universe, see Homelander as this larger than life figure. So Vought puts a suit on him to make him look jacked, muscular, 8-pack. And that's all just part of Homelander's bravado. He doesn't, he's not, because
Did you think of that being the case?
Not necessarily. Before? I thought it was more so just for Anthony Starr, but them showing him shirtless now and showing him, it was cool to see Homelander dressed down. It was cool to see him going to visit Sister Stage in the cap.
Because they're not like hiding it, because he's like shirtless or whatever in season 2. And I just always thought it's like,
they could hide that kind of.
Yeah, they gave him the muscle season 1, but then they realized in season 2 that'd be, for the story if we had him with a shirt off too. Well, because they didn't make it very obvious, that he's in the show pretending to have all this muscle.
None of their strength comes from muscles. Right. I mean, if you look at, like, the Deep is jacked, but I think that's more of a vanity thing. He's always flexing and everything in the show. But then Starlight's not jacked, and she's super strong. Yeah. So it's a highlight of his strength comes from V. Right. And he's really like this hollow shell of a person who would rather appear to be large to the public and have put on this fake persona. It's another part of the persona, which is really cool.
Yeah. Didn't even consider it until this season, and when I saw people talking about it online, I was like, what?
Makes sense. Like that. Yeah. They're clever.
Okay, I like it now.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really cool depth to the characters themselves. I just want to see more of an arc and track for the characters. I mean, I think Butcher is essentially then bringing back Becca and then killing her at the end of season 2 just puts him back in the same place he was at the beginning of season 1. Still looking for revenge. Just now he kind of cares about Ryan, but hardly shows it. I mean, it's interesting to see a new dynamic to Homelander. I feel like he's trying to be a good dad. He just doesn't have the mental faculty to be a good dad. I mean, he doesn't have the empathy. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Fake sneeze coming on.
He doesn't have either.
He can only see things the way he sees things. So when Ryan is crying about having killed a man, he says to him, well, shit happens. It was an accident. Accidents happen.
They're less than us. Yeah. Humans.
It's cool to see him spell out his thought process, talking about, it's very much like kind of Magneto-esque from the X-Men universe. Except he's way more vile, saying humans are our playthings, but we're a higher life form. We're an evolved life form. They're just toys to us. They're not real people.
Yeah.
And so him spelling that out for Ryan as his kind of parenting teaching mechanism is actually really interesting to see played out. Also, him struggling with aging is a very interesting aspect too, because everyone struggles with aging and realizing their mortality, but Homelander, for a quote unquote god to confront their own mortality, it's a lot more of a whiplash, I feel like, because he's so used to being invulnerable. A truck full of explosives could hit him and he would barely feel it.
Yeah.
And now he's confronting his own mortality in terms of the inevitability of age and death. I mean, that's got to hit him even harder than the average person, because we live daily with the fear of if a car hits us, we die, and also aging. He now has to confront his mortality of aging killing him.
Well, and his image is such an important part of who he is.
The vanity aspect too. I mean, the wrinkles being airbrushed, them talking about that. Dude,
dyeing his hair.
The movie set, how cool was that with Will Ferrell popping up on the movie set? I was
the white savior.
Smiling. Will Ferrell is my savior, first of all. I was smiling, cheesing so big when Will Ferrell showed up.
Yeah, it was
and he's
funny.
so funny whenever he's in anything. It's not too much. I'm not giving up too much Sandra Bullock in The Blind Side. You're saying that like it's a bad thing, buddy.
What's that smell?
What's that smell? I smell an Oscar buzz. Man, that is so funny. And I really like the arc of A-Train turning and becoming good, because I like A-Train's character and I feel like they've done a good job of building up to it, but it's just 4 seasons is so long to build up to it.
Yeah.
I mean, in season 1, he killed the woman he loved, and it took you 3 more seasons to start to turn again. Like, that seemed like a really harrowing experience. He also had guilt, I feel like, over killing and covering up. Was her name Veronica? Huey's.
Why'd you have to bring up her name? I don't know her name.
Huey's original girlfriend's death. I feel like Veronica is someone else, but A-Train ran through her. Obviously, he's on drugs. He's out of control. I feel like he originally had remorse for that, so he was a good character. Him and Maeve were both good characters for that. I mean, Maeve was really hardened at the beginning towards Starlight, but I feel like even under the surface, then she had kind of remorse as well and felt bad for Starlight. And they were good characters to turn. They turned Maeve a lot faster. She clearly was stuck there, and it feels now like A-Train is super stuck there, especially with the scene. Deep, I want you to blow A-Train. Get over there.
That scene was so tense.
Sexuality is a spectrum, right, bro?
And he's like, none of you can stand up for me or stand up to me and do what's right.
He's like, I wasn't going to do it.
It's like, what do you mean? You kill people in front of them all the time.
Their choice is to stand up to you and die. And they're just choosing to die.
When have you respected anyone who has stood up to you other than the people who made you?
Dude, when Starlight stood up to you, you were choking her out in the elevator, threatening to kill her. And you killed the guy she had a crush on, that one in season 3 or whatever, her ex-boyfriend, right? I think. And he just murdered him.
Yeah.
And when Ashley brought in the Daredevil character, he just... didn't even do anything to him. Yeah. So what do you expect people to do?
You're disabled on the 7th? Not a chance.
That's so crazy, man.
So what happens if I just do...
Instantly just basically kills him. Oh, man.
Dude, there's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of fun, though. I think... Who's your least favorite arc?
Victoria Newman.
Really?
Here's one thing that confuses me about Victoria Newman while I'm thinking about it. Can you explain why she is invulnerable despite having the same power that Marie Moreau has? Marie Moreau is obviously not invulnerable because she cuts her hand with a knife to use her powers. Why can Victoria Newman get shot point blank by a gun, but Marie can cut her hand with a knife? Does Victoria Newman know how to use the powers better? But she wasn't even prepared for that acid to hit her, so it has to be like a passive ability, her invulnerability.
Yeah, maybe their powers aren't exactly identical. I'm not sure. They kind of pick and choose who's invulnerable and when.
Which is weird, because you never know who's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy who could clone himself, he wasn't invulnerable. They killed a dozen of him.
Yeah. Which kind of seems to be the way that it goes if you can duplicate,
Yeah, they just get to duplicate.
You're just gone.
But I mean, it's all over. It's whatever character. I mean, I don't think A-Train's invulnerable. Kimiko just broke his leg in season 1. So he's super fast but not invulnerable. I have no clue about the Deep. I would guess he's invulnerable because he's made it this far.
He's made. I don't know.
A-Train's made it this far from
When's
being
he been
super
hurt?
fast.
Yeah. Well, A-Train doesn't really like use his powers in the way that I feel like he could. They always do that with the speedsters. You know,
Their power is scaled to
they just
to
don't let him use his powers because they know like it interfere. You know, like
it'd be too useful.
right. Exactly. I think my least favorite character arc is probably Starlight. I feel like especially early.
Wow,
maybe
you
outside. Don't even say it.
Change your answer.
Don't even say
We can't both pick female characters from the show.
But I feel like, especially in the first 3 seasons, besides the finale of season 3, it's always her getting upset and lighting up her eyes and not doing a thing.
Yeah, I mean, at least they introduced that she can fly in this season.
Yeah.
It was cool.
No, this season
powered her up.
This season's doing better. There's a moment in episode 4 too where she actually uses her powers, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she still has powers. That's awesome. You know, but I feel like she's gotten more and more angry, but all she does is like threaten to use her powers, and no other superhero is afraid of her because they know her powers are so weak. Yeah. And it's like,
I think her powers are strong, but
Yeah,
they aren't like using them, showing how strong they can be. I mean,
Yeah.
all she's doing, she turned into Super Saiyan mode at the end of season 3. Bring that Starlight back,
and like you said, she got shot with a 50 cal,
and got back up.
but they don't show any of that, and it's just her getting upset all the time and not being able to do anything and not doing anything about it. Like Huey's upset, sure, but then he finds ways to like actually do something. You know, he's one, really smart, and 2, he finds Temp V.
But why do they make him more useful than her? Like, that's ridiculous. She is a soup.
That's what I'm saying.
I think
She's just getting annoying.
I actually kind of want to change my answer now to the plot line I care about the least is actually Huey and his parents. I don't care about that at all because it's completely uninvolved in the show. Unless they're going to circle back around and reveal that some soup somehow, like if Victoria Newman burst a blood vessel in his dad's head, that would make sense, right? Maybe she wants him distracted because he's so focused on messing up her plans. Maybe she did this to his dad to distract him, and they'll unveil that later. So now he's like so torn in between because he's like saying that as well. He's, I can't leave the city. I have to be near my dad. So maybe she wants him distracted. She'd be the perfect person to do that, right? She could give an aneurysm. So if the head popper did that to his dad and it circles back, sure. But I don't care about his mom. Why am I supposed to care about his mom coming back? Has that been a big part of his character up until now? I care about Annie's family. They showed all the pressure her mom put on her. I care about Little Cricket's family and Gen V because they showed all the pressure her mom put on her. But his mom, I feel like, has never been a plot point. His mom abandoning him hasn't been a big one.
What's the new guy's name? Was it Jeffrey
Dean Morgan?
Yeah, whatever his name is in the show. I've heard things floating around on TikTok and stuff that he's just a vision
in Butcher's head.
What if that's a side effect of Temp V and Huey's mom is also a vision?
No one else has talked to her so far.
Yeah.
So it could be, but I feel like that can't be true because he talked to the lawyer and everything about the power of attorney. So like the power of attorney thing seems like it ties her to the real world because he's not actually able to make medical decisions for his dad right now.
Do you think did the attorney like have like the records in front, or do you think he was just talking to him about the situation?
I feel like I feel like Huey would have to know. Somebody would have to be making the decisions for his dad, talking to the staff. I feel like it'd be kind of hard to write around.
That's a good point.
It could be. It's a potential, but I feel like I would have some questions if they had that.
Because he could be the power of attorney.
And just be
could be
his
the
mind
one
so messed
making the
up.
decisions.
Yeah, and his mind and him playing the role of the mom.
Right.
It could be that.
Yeah.
I think that it'll be interesting when they unveil at the end of the season whatever plans are in place. I think Sister Sage has a lot going on that we don't know about. She seems to be kind of aligning people. Also, I had something explained to me online that I didn't get. When she's starting to make out with the Deep and you want to watch Transformers 2 and all this, she apparently lobotomized herself.
By the way.
Yeah, you want to watch Transformers too. But did you get that she lobotomized herself?
No, I didn't know what that was.
Yeah,
I thought it was a wow, I can't think of the stupid name, but one of those spears that you go hunting with in the water.
Like maybe she killed the octopus or something.
Killed the octopus.
So I've
And then
heard
she was getting with the deep.
I've heard people say that she, like, the reason she's laying on the couch looking all drugged out, eating a bloomin' onion, watching Transformers, is because she's so smart. At the end of the day, she has to lobotomize herself to turn her brain off. It's like her taking Xanax or something.
Yeah.
So then she can chill out, and then she has regenerative powers because she's a soup, and her brain heals for the next day. So that's why she can turn her brain off and sleep with somebody like the Deep, a mouth breather who she'd probably never consider sleeping with. Unlobotomized.
Bleeds through his ribs.
Gill breather. But yeah, I think makes sense to me. Like, that's an interesting arc for her. But I literally rewound it and was like, what is that? And I couldn't figure it out, so I just moved on. But they like racked focus to it, and I was thinking, there's blood on that thing. What is it?
I thought it was like an arrow.
Am I stupid?
Yeah.
Am I lobotomized? I just didn't. I've never had a lobotomy so far, so I didn't know what it was.
I didn't know that either until I saw it on TikTok, and I was like, oh, okay.
It's just like a spiked rod. Yeah. I guess that's what she does.
It comes back in episode 4. You got to watch episode 4.
Okay.
Yeah, they talk about it a little.
So did they confirm that in episode 4?
Definitely a lobotomy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See, because I didn't know in episode 3, so I'll see more.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch it. Man, I think
episode 4 is probably my favorite of the season so far.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm excited to see, like I said, all these plans that are unveiled. Maybe now that I say it out loud, it was the first I thought of it while we were talking. It makes a lot of sense for Victoria Newman to have given his dad the stroke. To distract him or what have you, or for coming after her family, revenge for coming after her daughter.
Yeah.
I just want to know her dad, adopted father Stan Edgar, like what happened with him and his plans with her. Is he off the map?
I just watched season 3 and I don't even remember what happened, like where he went.
I think Homelander pushed him out of.
Yeah,
and then he's I feel like he made vague threats, basically insinuating he would be back, but then never did.
Yeah,
and I feel like they do that a lot where they don't close plot lines.
Even with all of these issues that you have with like plot lines and all these stories going on all at once and stuff, and the stakes maybe not being as real. What do you think of Anthony Starr's Homelander as a villain? Like top tier, he's the best villain we've seen. Like, where does that rank for you?
I think he's a top tier villain. I think he's an all timer. I mean, I wish they did more with him because he's basically stuck to the confines of what's viewed as acceptable in his world. I wish to see him mow down an actual crab with laser vision.
But are we at the point where we can like start putting his performance up with the Joker, with Heath Ledger?
I'm always hesitant to do that. I think up there is fair. Up there is a bracket. It's a range.
I mean, there's not that many people up there.
Yeah. I mean, what? The guy in No Country for Old Men, Anton Chigurh, is up there. That performance. Yeah. A lot of people might say like Darth Vader or Ray Fiennes as Voldemort. There's a very select crew up there and the best villains of all time.
Mm-hmm. I think too, like performance wise, he does such a good job.
Yeah, I think he does a fantastic job. I mean, the little conversations he has with Ryan, I think, are some of the best moments. Yeah, because that young kid is killing it. He's a great actor playing Ryan.
Anthony Starr is so good at like displaying the emotion and the insecurity, but also the power and the intimidation. Like he's perfect for the role.
Well, so many looks brush across his face in a matter of seconds. I mean, he's embarrassed, he's shocked, and he's nervous, and then quickly to anger and intimidation.
He has such a good performance in episode 4. I know I keep saying it, that you haven't seen it. Maybe it's because I literally just watched it before we recorded this, but yeah, he's so good. My biggest complaint used to be that like he didn't actually look the part. But now if like that's
explained away
canon and that's how it's supposed to be, it's like, oh, that makes sense. Now I like it even more.
Yeah. I think I'm excited to find out his backstory. Maybe that's what they're confronting in episode 4, because they hinted at it in episode 3 with him going back to where it all began and the door. And they do kind of
shot, by the way.
Yeah, of the door.
No, of like the mirror split, and you got
that was a cool shot.
3 or 4 of them talking to himself,
and he gets a range of performances in there. I'm glad that they circled back to that, because that was like a one-off in season 3, him talking to an alternate version of himself in the mirror. As a one-off, it just doesn't make a lot of sense, but circling back to it, it fits better, making it a part of his character rather than, let's try this and see how audiences respond to it and never get back to it. It's something like my complaint about not closing stuff. Like, bring it back. If you're going to do it, get in there with both feet.
Run it back.
I really like the puppet stuff that they do in Gen V with Sam and his mental space and getting into the head of the character. Yeah. I mean, I love that.
They did that
stuff
a little bit with Frenchie.
Yeah, when he was hallucinogenic. Yeah. Oui, hallucinogenic.
Frenchie can have chemistry with anyone and anything.
That guy,
Dude.
he's a stud. He's a stud.
He's so charismatic.
First of all, I've seen two people pull off so many different looks. He's got a different haircut every time.
Yeah, every time I'm
always-
like,
He looks good again.
should I get my haircut?
He had a mohawk. He's got cool looks.
Yeah.
I love Frenchie. I think
Me too.
he's so charismatic on screen. I love him. I love Kimiko. I love MM, Butcher, and Huey. I think every core member of the boys, they are so good on
No
screen.
Starlight, huh?
Starlight.
You're a Starlight hater of me.
No, I like Starlight, but I like her better in season 1 when she was like discovering the corrupt nature of the Seven and her little budding romance with Huey. I really liked her in season 1 a lot better.
I feel like her like character is very wish-washy.
I feel like they kind of don't know what to do with her in a writing sense.
Like it was in episode 3, right, where Firecracker confronted her and was like talking about like what you did when we were teenagers and stuff. It felt so off character of what 13-year-old Starlight would have been doing, you know, like she was like, I don't know.
She seemed like she was being forced into everything by her mom, and that seems like going out of your way.
Yeah,
like that's like
big time.
You could go after her and like if your mom told you to, but that's like malicious. Like that rumor destroyed her life.
Yeah, and like I guess like she wasn't following everything in the Bible and what her mom was saying perfectly because she like was talking with Huey about how she had sex before marriage and you know like stuff like that, but. This is a lot different, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, that's sex before marriage is more something that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah,
like,
and that's like personal, you know, like that really only affects you in a sense and whoever you're with. But going out of your way to spread those rumors and stuff, you know, like that's a lot more vicious and premeditated, you know?
And just the rumor itself was mean. Yeah. I mean, and she in that circuit had to know how bad that could get. She had to know how much that could affect her. And she's living the same life that she's living.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody did that to her, she could think about how it would affect her.
And I mean,
and she was older.
Everyone's 13, 14.
She was old enough to know better. Yeah.
I mean, everyone's got their secrets and stuff, but it just felt like they just kind of made it up, you know, for plot convenience in a sense, you know, like we need a problem. We need her to have this flaw, you know, of why she's got this thing against her. It's like, and how do you not remember her?
Yeah.
After doing something like it was like between you and her to win this, whatever it was that you were
people don't look that different. I mean, I'm sure she looks different.
I recognize people all the time, even if I wasn't like super close to them. I'd be like, oh, that's the person that was in 4th grade with.
Yeah. I went to middle school with that person. Whatever, you know, like, that she's not as good. I think I like Erin Moriarty a lot, especially in the first season. Yeah. But those 5 core cast members of The Boys, I just think
top tier.
I love the female Kimiko. Like she's such a good job. I do feel like I wish that their plot lines were more merged because when it's just Kimiko and Frenchie going off and doing their little thing, I'm not as interested in their plot line. The main plot line in the show I'm interested in is defeating Homelander, and then so I'm mostly locked in when it's the Butcher, Homelander, Ryan triad. And then they have all these offshoots. Like I listed that, so many offshoots. I mean, when Huey's in the hospital, I'm like ready to check out. Like I do not care. They haven't shown Simon Pegg enough. I love Simon Pegg, the actor. His dad has not been a big part of the show
since like season 1. Yeah, he wasn't in season 3 at all, I don't think.
And I mean, it's sad. It's a sad story what's happening to Huey, but it's just not. These are all little offshoots. Mother's Milk and his ex-wife and daughter, super offshoot. I like when Mother's Milk.
A little better though. It kind of felt like it tied in.
Yeah, more. But Mother's Milk and A-Train I feel like ties in a lot better. Like Mother's Milk and A-Train was really a good dynamic, and he's trying to turn A-Train over and seeing his softer side. Yeah, that I feel like is way more interesting to move in the plot forward. I mean, A-Train could help them a lot. I mean, that would be the strongest soup on their side, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't know. I feel like there's way too many offshoot plots, but I definitely want them all to get back together because they're so good. And like you said about, I want to get back to Frenchie real quick before we wrap this episode up. Have you seen all the complaints online of people complaining that Frenchie is now gay in season 4 of The Boys?
I hate to break it to you, but all the gentlemen out there, you've always had a chance with him.
First of all, Frenchie is bisexual and not gay. But Frenchie has been very open since the beginning of the show that he's like sexually promiscuous and he does a lot of drugs and he sleeps around. And I feel like in season 3 he mentioned something like doing. I don't want to say this word in our podcast, but
Look it up.
doing things with the Russian woman. You know, like I feel like he's never been like, I'm Frenchie and I am macho and super hetero. Like that's never been on the table.
No.
So I don't know why like opening him up to sleeping
He's
with
always
men.
had like someone, like she would say, like holding his leash.
Yeah.
In a sense.
And I feel like I don't know what people are making of this. I mean, I'm not shocked to see Frenchie sleep with a guy. Not shocked at all.
I think maybe there's a complaint there that it just kind of happened out of nowhere and that there was no like character development.
Yeah.
But that character development comes like wait till the season's done.
Yeah.
Like they just started, you know, like there's people that I haven't seen in years and then like boom, now we're friends and we're talking again, we're hanging out or whatever, you know, like you're not always engaged with people that you know all the time. So it's fine if someone comes in the middle of season 4 and they already have a relationship together.
Yeah, I feel like
They already know each other. That's fine.
I see if you're going to complain about the development of the relationship, that's one thing. But I've just seen so many posts that are like, Frenchie's gay now. The boys is so woke and it's so liberal and political. It's like Frenchie, I feel like the subtext has been there for 4 seasons. I don't know how you could like.
I mean, the boys in general they haven't been hiding any of it. They're making fun of politics.
Yeah, they've never been hiding it.
Yeah, like
Homelander has been a clear surrogate for Donald Trump.
Yeah,
for so long.
Stormfront, she was a Nazi.
Yeah, it's been very political and very liberal leaning too. I mean, I feel like they poked fun at both sides at moments, but very liberal leaning since the beginning. And if you're gonna watch the show and that's not your cup of tea, you just have to put it aside if you want to watch the show.
Yeah. Do you think it's just people realizing they're making fun of them?
after 4 years, longer than 4 years, this show has actually been coming out for a really long time.
Dude.
4 seasons.
Yeah.
It's been like what, like 6-7 years?
Probably.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
So I don't know how anyone could have not realized it by now, but apparently
I've seen that more on my feed than any other season of people talking about like, oh, the boys are just really political.
The boys changed.
They're just forcing things down your throat, you know? And it's funny because there's a part in there where the pastor comes back in episode 4 and he's like, he makes a connection to things and he does so by like really reaching.
Yeah.
It's so funny because it's like that's what's happening online right now.
They foresaw it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the show is similar to how it's always been. They might have to dial it up a little bit each season.
Yeah.
I think they could let go of current events a little bit and focus more on the plot of their show. I think would behoove them.
I think you can do both.
Yeah.
But right now it seems heavily more towards satire, like you said.
Yeah. But I still think the show is super enjoyable, super fun.
Absolutely.
And like Frenchie's cool as he's ever been. An example that I always think of is in Skyfall, I think it is. James Bond gets approached by, his name might be Silva, the villain. And James Bond makes a comment about having kissed a guy before.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, would you be like angry at James Bond? I mean, James Bond, you know how many women James Bond slept with? He's slept with all the women. He's probably,
All of them.
he's probably experimented beyond that. You can assume like he's James freaking Bond.
Yeah.
Frenchie is not James Bond, but Frenchie's obviously been very sexually active. It's safe to assume he's experimented all over the board. So like, just don't.
What about like everything else Frenchie's done?
I know, like
He's a murderer. He would go and kill people for money.
That's the comment that some people have made is like people laughing as the Deep has sex with an octopus or a dolphin.
Yeah.
And then, what the heck? Frenchie's kissing a guy?
Yeah.
It's like, you didn't complain about the bestiality?
Yeah.
The bestiality you're okay with, but you're not okay with the homosexuality. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's wild. It's so funny. I love this show.
It really is like the show itself is outing people for their bigoted notions, but
All right. So we have, I guess after today's episode, there's only 4 more left of this season. And then we wait for Gen V season 2.
They already announced season 5 of The Boys. They did it. I like that cool video they made. If you check it out online, if you haven't seen it, it's probably on Boys TV, I think is their Instagram page. Kimiko is carving season 5 into a table.
Oh, that's cool. I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, you should
But
check
I
it
know
out.
that they announced season 5, and I think they announced that that's going to be the last one.
So
right?
that's what I've been hearing is season 5 be the last one, which like finally like do something drastic and end the show.
Right.
Homelander doesn't have to die or whatever, but do something drastic to the verse. Because they're still in the same position as when it started. Vought is still running everything. Most of society still thinks they're the good guys, even if people realize Homelander's a murderer. Nothing's happening about it. So that was the biggest change at the end of season 4, was Homelander basically unveiling himself as a psychopath. But even still, people don't see him as a psychopath. They said, oh, he attacked his son. It was self-defense. How can you not realize the danger of somebody like that acting with impunity? Somebody with his level of power acting without consequences? That's how Batman got on his train of thinking in 2016, going after
Andrew and I just toe
toes
hugged
on the table.
there. Pretty sure his toes went in between mine.
The hot dog toes.
That's a perfect way to end a boys episode, with the toe hug. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. We post new full episodes every Monday and Thursday. Last week, we posted 4 episodes, though, so make sure you hit that subscription and notification bell so you don't miss anything that we put out. We're continuously trying to grow the channel. Where else are we, Andrew?
We're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X. We are all over the place. You can check us out on all the social media platforms. Make sure to like and follow there. You'll also want to go to our Spotify page where you can rate and review the show. It helps new people find the show, helps us find new listenership. The best thing you can actually do to help the show, if you're still listening to me right now, is to share us with friends and family. It helps grow. The brand helps grow the audience and community that we're trying to develop. You can have them join our Discord. Unfortunately, they do have to pay a steep entry charge. Aaron, remind me, I keep forgetting. How much was that?
It's
free. It's totally free. You can join in on there and chat with us about movies, shows, all this nerd stuff we talk about on the podcast. And you can make episode topic suggestions, which we'll get around to filming right away, because we love to have topic suggestions. It helps us fill up our slate.
Boom. Thank you so much for watching, and
That's a wrap.